What's up YouTube? 'Tis I, Chaddington, and we are back with another reaction video. So I learned about the geography of Australia, the culture, including the food and music, but now it's time to learn about one of the things that Australia tends to be known for worldwide, which is its wildlife, particularly some of the more dangerous and scary animals that exist in Australia. I'm excited for this one, man. I want to know the truth about the wildlife situation in Australia. So today we're checking out 14 of the deadliest animals in Australia. Danger Down Under. Shout out to Tsuki for the video. Link to his channel down below. Don't forget to like and subscribe. And without further ado, let's go.
For some people, Australia is a country full of lots of bitey animals that want to end your life. Although there are some dangerous creatures in Australia, the risk of them biting or killing you is relatively low. In fact, there are plenty of other countries that are far more dangerous when it comes to wildlife. But of course, it's important not to be reckless when visiting Australia. In this video, I will be going through just a few creatures on the continent, as I will.
And of course, as we all know, tiny kangaroos are some of the most dangerous animals in Australia, known for attacking people. That's just a joke, folks.
Be going through the deadliest animals in Australia. The first group of animals we will be looking at are the land
look at this
animals.
guy.
And when you first take a look at the Australian ecosystem, it seems to be missing something. Most other continents have large land carnivores, whereas Australia seems to be lacking them. This land was once...
You know what I heard recently, which is that in the US, leopards were indigenous to the area. And that was surprising to me because leopards seem like a pretty exotic animal, but apparently native to America. And holy cow, look at this thing. Marsupial lion.
It's home to a large marsupial lion. But this creature went extinct around 30,000 years ago.
Okay.
Today,
I was about to say, like, is this thing still around in Australia? Because I've never seen anything like that in my life.
one of Australia's largest land carnivores is the dingo. But this wild dog wasn't always Australian. The earliest known dingo fossil was found in Western Australia, and this dates back to around 3,450 years ago. It's thought that dingoes first reached Australia around 8,300 years ago, and it's believed that they were brought over by a human population. Since then, they really have made Australia their home, but they're not exactly very dangerous to humans. In most cases, dingoes only go after children, and the most recent attacks were non-fatal and happened in 2021. To this day, there has only been a handful of fatal dingo attacks, and for the most part we're not on the menu and they don't view us as food. In Australia, far more people are killed by domesticated dogs than they are by dingoes, and really they're not as dangerous as you might think.
Yeah, I guess that's not surprising because domesticated dogs are much more used to being around people, and so they're probably more likely to interact with people, and also that includes attacking people.
There are some other relatively large land carnivores in Australia, and these come in the form of monitor lizards. The largest of the Australian monitor lizards is the parenti, but really this creature is very unlikely to attack a human. These lizards live in the more arid areas of Australia, and they very rarely encounter humans. Even if you did come across this reptile in the wild, it would probably flee, as it's really focused on much smaller prey such as lizards and birds. Strangely, one of the most...
Can you keep those as a pet? Because that looks like those lizards that people have as pets. I don't know what they're called. But yeah, it kind of looks like a Komodo dragon, but just like way smaller. I would be freaked out if I saw that in the wild, but only for like a split second, and then I'd start taking photos.
Dangerous creatures that you can run into on land in Australia is not a predator, and it is in fact the southern cassowary. This bird is one of 3 species of cassowary, and it is the heaviest bird in Australia despite being shorter than the emu. These giant birds mostly feed on fruits on the forest floor, and for the most part they are quite peaceful creatures. Problems arise when people start feeding these birds, as these birds can become very protective of their young, and
Do they attack people with that giant thing on their head? It's like a blunt instrument that thing would hurt if it can hit you with that.
don't need a lot of encouragement to attack. One of the things that makes the southern cassowary very dangerous are its 2 spear-like inner claws. When attacking, it will thrust these towards people, and they can easily become embedded in your abdomen.
Dang.
Even though these birds are potentially dangerous, attacks are still relatively
Okay,
rare.
I gotta look at this thing for a second. I have never heard of this animal before in my life. This thing looks prehistoric. I mean, holy cow, that is scary. Its body is draped in like the hair of a goth teenager, but yet it's got this super bright blue face with this scary, like, hard weapon on top, and the claws too.
And there have only been a few fatalities over the years. One of the most recent fatal attacks didn't even happen in Australia, as a Florida man was killed by his pet cassowary in 2019. So even though this bird doesn't take many lives, it's best to leave it alone. And this is especially the case if they have young. Even though Australia is lacking some large land carnivores, it definitely isn't lacking smaller venomous creatures. Australia is famous for its highly venomous snakes, and there really are quite a few species. The species that is often known as the most deadly is the inland taipan, but really it's very unlikely that you will come across this snake. More than 85% of Australians live within 50 kilometres of the coast, and that's because the majority of Australia is inhospitable. Most of Australia is made up of dry deserts, and it's very hard to make a living here. In these areas is where you'll find the inland taipan, and really this snake wants nothing to do with you. They feed almost exclusively on small mammals, and they'd only bite a human in self-defense. This snake is called the deadliest snake in Australia because of its venom, as it's estimated that one bite possesses enough lethality to kill at least 100 fully grown humans.
Whoa. That is shocking.
Of course, stats like these are very frightening, but there are quite a few other species that kill more people in Australia than the inland taipan. Since the year 2000, there are 4 main culprits when it comes to snakebite fatalities, and these are the coastal taipan with 3 fatalities, the western brown snake with 3 fatalities, the tiger snake with 6 fatalities, and the eastern brown snake with 12 fatalities. These
I assume those are all venomous snakes.
4 species are not the most venomous snakes, but they're more likely to come into contact with humans, and they're more likely to bite. Luckily, if you are bitten by any of these snakes in Australia, normally if you get medical attention you will be fine. As there are so many venomous creatures in Australia, most hospitals have a large amount of antivenom, and this of course will reverse the effects of the venom. Australia is also very well known for its large spiders, and these can come in the form of tarantulas, trapdoor spiders, and mouse spiders.
Gosh.
All of these arachnids are potentially dangerous, but possibly
I hate spiders.
the most deadly species is the Sydney funnel web. This species has a highly toxic venom that's produced in large amounts. It has very large fangs to inject this venom, and a bite would definitely ruin your day. As this species is the deadliest spider in Australia, you may assume that it kills quite a few people each year. This couldn't be any further from the truth, as there hasn't been a fatality from a Sydney funnel web bite since 1981, and this was when its antivenom was first made available. So even though many of the large spiders in Australia are frightening, it is very unlikely that they will kill you. But now we've looked...
I am kind of surprised by that though. Even though they have the anti-venom, I would have assumed that some guy would have like gone out into the bush, end up being bitten by one of those things, and have not been able to get to a hospital in time and like ended up being killed or something. But yeah, not a single fatality since they got the anti-venom. So I guess getting bitten must be pretty rare in the first place, and most people get to I guess everyone gets to a hospital in time. But yeah, I don't care if there's anti-venom or not, I do not want to get bit by that thing. I hate spiders so much, and especially if you add on like venom and big fangs, it just only makes it 100 times worse.
At some of the most dangerous land creatures in Australia, it's time that we look towards the ocean. The waters around Australia are teeming with life, and there are quite a few marine species that can only be found around Australia. Just off the coast of Australia, you will find some of the largest reefs in the world, and these reefs are very fragile and diverse ecosystems. Before we go any further, I'd just like to point out that shark attacks are very rare. There are only around 5 to 15 fatal attacks each year, but quite often a large percentage of these attacks happen off the coast of Australia. Shark
Hold up, does he mean worldwide? Hold on, I've got to go back. I think I missed that.
Shark attacks are very rare. There are only around 5 to 15 fatal attacks each year, but quite often a large percentage of these attacks happen off the coast of Australia.
Happen off the coast of Australia? So that means in Australia, but off the coast.
Shark attacks are mostly carried out by 3 main species, these being the bull shark, the great white shark, and the tiger shark. In Australia, the majority of attacks are carried out by great whites, and since the year 2000, bull sharks were responsible for 1 fatal attack, tiger sharks were responsible for 1 fatal attack, and great whites were responsible for 18.
Man, I guess that makes sense. It's the great whites that are the real scary ones.
The most recent fatal shark attack in Australia happened earlier this year, but the culprit was thought to be a bull shark as it happened in a river. As I've already said, shark attacks are still relatively rare, but as it is one of the most frightening ways to go, it's understandable why so many people are scared.
It happened in a river, so does that mean there are freshwater sharks, or it was one of those like places where the river goes into the ocean and like the sharks can swim in from the ocean? Something I never thought about.
Scared of sharks. Not all deadly ocean creatures have to be large predators, as the waters of Australia are also home to some smaller killers. If you go snorkeling in the waters around Australia, you might be able to find some blue-ringed octopus species. For the most part, these creatures are harmless if you leave them alone, but if you accidentally step on them or you pester them, it could be the last thing you do. Blue-ringed octopuses can produce tetrodotoxin, which is...
Hold on. Was there a skull in that stuff that was being, like, dropped out?
Could be the last thing you do. Blue-ringed octopus...
Yeah, there's a skull. Is that... What does that mean? I don't know. Maybe there was just like a effect for this video.
Can produce tetrodotoxin, which is the same toxin that's
Tetrodotoxin.
found in some pufferfish species. This toxin is extremely dangerous, and if a blue-ringed octopus bites you, it can certainly end your life. Fatalities from blue-ringed octopus bites are extremely rare, but there's thought to have been at least 11 over the years.
Wow, and the fact that it's so small makes it even scarier, actually. Because, like, what if you just randomly, like, step on this thing, like they said? Although I must say, this thing looks really cool. Those blue rings, they're, like, glowing and shiny. It's a cool-looking animal.
Another group of marine creatures that you might want to look out for are the jellyfish, and more specifically the box jellyfish. These creatures are able to cause paralysis and cardiac arrest with their stings, and in some cases this can lead to death. Since the year 2000, there have been at least 10 confirmed fatalities, and it's important that you look out for signs. So far, these
jellyfish are so scary, man. Like, I don't know, something about the stories I've heard about, like, the stinging, awful pain that jellyfish inflict. It just sounds terrible, especially when you're just trying to swim in the ocean, having a nice time, then all of a sudden just bang, absolutely terrible, worst day ever, and you might die too. But I've got to go back and, oh yeah, look at how long this thing's, like, stinger tentacles are. Golly, that is just not fair. But yeah, I've always had a major fear of jellyfish. Those things are scary.
Confirmed fatalities, and it's important that you look out for signs. So far, these creatures have proved that the waters around Australia are relatively dangerous, but there is still one ecosystem that we haven't taken a look at. Australia's freshwaters can be very rich and diverse, and they're home to some creatures that can't be found anywhere else in the world. These waters are often full of predators, and some of them are even home to one of the largest predators on this planet. There are two species of crocodilian that can be found in Australia. One is the mostly harmless freshwater crocodile, and the other is the highly dangerous saltwater crocodile.
I didn't know that. I didn't know that the freshwater was harmless and the saltwater was the one you gotta stay away from.
The Australian freshwater crocodile is mostly interested in fish, and you can tell this by its long, narrow snout. This crocodile only really attacks in self-defense, or sometimes in cases of mistaken identity. The saltwater crocodile, on the other hand, is one of the most dangerous reptiles in the world, and is one of the few predators that sees humans directly as a food source. Although they are called
That's scary.
saltwater crocodiles, they are mostly found in brackish waters, and if one of these predators chooses to attack you in the water, you stand little chance. These crocodilians really are apex predators, and giants can exceed lengths of 6 meters, even though these predators
20 feet. Oh gosh, that's horrifying. I mean, this is literally like a dinosaur that's still around, but it's swimming in the water and it wants to eat you.
predators are terrifying, and they are more than capable of taking down a human. Fatal attacks on humans are still relatively rare. On average, in Australia, saltwater crocodiles kill around 1.9 people a year, and this really is a shockingly low number. I guess if you knew this predator could potentially be in a river, you're very unlikely to swim in it.
Yeah, and see, that's the thing too. They're very, like, stealth oriented. It's so easy for them to sneak up on you because they blend into the environment so well. And they've got those incredibly powerful jaws with the teeth.
And really, I wouldn't blame you. If you think there's any deadly Australian creatures that I haven't included in this video, then let me know down in the comments below. But thank you for watching, I hope you enjoyed. If you liked it, please leave a like and subscribe if you want to see more videos like these. But until next time, goodbye.
All right, shout out to Tsuki for the video. Which animal do I like the most and which am I the most afraid of? That's the question I have. In terms of what I like the most, I think the cassowary is the coolest. It's the most unique and I had never heard of that. It just looks so weird and yet really cool. So I think the cassowary is my favorite. And most afraid of, it's got to be a tie between the spider, the funnel web spider, and the jellyfish. See, what's interesting is the different places they can get you because the spider is only on land. So theoretically, it could like crawl up in your bed while you're sleeping and bite you, and that's really scary. But then again, if you're swimming in the ocean, you don't have like the same ability to like get away as you do when you're on land. And that's scary too. There's like this added confusion when you get stung by one of those things. I wonder which one hurts the most, getting bit by a funnel web or stung by a box jellyfish. I bet the jellyfish, because I've heard that jellyfish stings are like the most painful thing ever. So yeah, honestly, I think I might take my chances with the spider, as terrible as it is to say. Let me know if there are any other videos you want me to react to in the comments down below. Thanks for watching, and I'll catch you guys next time.